where's Barb? She said she'd meet me here.
Oh, this is too sad. Hey, look, I can set you up with somebody great on the Cerritos. There's that Philosian in Tactical. She seems like a nice plant person.
Brad!
Computer end program?
Oh.
Welcome to Deep Space Pride, a gay Star Trek podcast. I am Mike, one of your co-hosts, and with me today is Johnson, my co-host. How are you?
Hi, Mike. How's it going?
Good. It is midweek, and we're in September.
Yeah. How's your energy level today? Mine's wavering around the middle.
Oh, is it wavering around the middle?
Well, I just ate, so I'm not hangry, but
yeah.
now I kind of have food coma. So, it's either I'm hungry and upset or I'm full and tired. So, there's really no good compromise, honestly.
So you're somewhere in the middle right now.
Yeah, at least I'm content, which is really important.
Okay, well, that's good. I am, I've got a good amount of energy because it's been 2 weeks since we've recorded a podcast.
I mean, I guess it's not like I'm not like an energy camel. It's not like my energy reserves have been full because we haven't recorded a podcast, but sure, I believe you.
No, I mean, it's, we have a lot to cover. And also,
there's so much shit to cover.
Also last week we launched.
That is correct. I mean, I don't know what time means anymore and what time means to our listeners because they're going to be listening to this in the future. But that is correct. And it was exciting.
Yeah, it was.
It was moderately exciting.
Yeah. So, we hope you're here for the duration as we kind of catch up and talk about things that have happened for the last couple of weeks. We have a lot to cover.
A lot happened. You went on vacation. I have like 4 new shows I'm watching. It's a lot.
Yeah, you went and saw your parents and apparently spent the entire weekend watching TV.
I did, because there's nothing else to do there.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, there's, But yes, you binged like 3 series while you were...
I did. It was great.
Yeah, so...
Yeah. I regret nothing.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So lots happened in the world of Star Trek over the last couple of weeks. Johnson, what did you Star Trek?
Yeah, so I've been catching up on Enterprise still, just in terms of TV watching and binging. So now I'm in season 3. This is a season-long journey into the Expanse where they're trying to find the Xindi.
Right.
And they're trying to figure out, where they are so that they can stop them from launching their weapon. And then you have the spear builders because there's a temporal Cold War, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I do think there are a few good gems this season. So I'm looking forward to that. And again, I'm watching Enterprise for the first time in at least 720p widescreen. So yay! So that's where I am so far with Star Trek Enterprise. And I mentioned this to you separately, I also started to read the Millennium series, the Deep Space Nine trilogy, which I've heard a lot about, but I've never read. So I'm kind of excited. I'm only at the beginning of the first book, so it's a little bit slow right now. There's like mystery building, blah, blah, blah. But I think it's going to pick up quickly.
Yeah, I mean, that's like one of my favorite book series of all of Star Trek.
Whoa, and you've read like so many.
Yeah, no, the Millennium, there were a couple of reasons why that was. I mean, one, because I loved DS9, and I'm pretty sure it came out after DS9 had concluded, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it's after the finale.
Yeah, so, I definitely was missing Deep Space Nine. And also, from what I remember, I was also starting to get into the ebooks back then, which This I'm pretty sure I read on ebooks, which means I read them on my, I think it was a Trio at the time, but
Oh my God, we're so old.
Yeah, Palm Reader
Oh my God.
version. So I read it while I was commuting. So yeah, but it's good memories and great story. And I mean, we both love DS9, so great. Well, I can't wait to hear what you think about that.
Yeah, you know, I'm hoping to stick with it because the past 2 book series that I started, I kind of just dropped it like it's hot.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I mean, there's only 3 books. The thing about the Shatnerverse series is that it's like 10 books. So I was like, all right.
These are big books though. These aren't like your normal like 250-page pocket books. These were actually like kind of the bigger books, you know. I'm pretty sure, because I mean, I think eventually I probably picked them up physically, or I saw them at a bookstore at least, and they're bigger and smaller writing in physical form. So so these are not your 250-page pocket books, you know, from the 80s and 90s. So
yes,
cool.
So I will report back to you and to our listeners as I go through the book series.
Sounds good.
What about you, Mike?
Well, you know, I was on vacation, so I didn't really get to a whole lot of Star Trek, but my word, there was a lot of news. And,
there was a lot of news.
You know, Star Trek Day happened while I was on vacation, actually, while I was driving.
So much happened between our last recording and this recording. It's so crazy. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, so Star Trek Day, but I'm actually going to not start with Star Trek Day because I really haven't watched a lot of the panels. And there wasn't a ton of news out of there other than a few trailers, which we will get to. But I think the big story that I want to start talking about is they announced some new additions to the cast of Discovery for season 3. And it's pretty exciting for the 2 of us, and I think for our audience, you know, for a lot of our audience as well.
Yes,
right?
It is specifically very relevant to this podcast.
Very relevant, right?
Yes.
So it's pretty exciting to see them hire a non-binary and transgender actors to play non-binary and transgender roles.
Yes.
In Star Trek. So one, that's really awesome. One, because representation matters. And actually one is also, so Ian, who is transgender, and they use the pronouns they, them, and also he, him. So
yes,
kind of, he seems to be more flexible with the pronouns. So he's playing a Trill, one of my favorite races. I mean, I'm a huge Jadzia Dax fan. So I'm excited to see what Gray is going to be like. And then Blue Del Barrio plays Adira, which we don't really know too much about the character. But they are a non-binary character. And so these are great additions to already a very diverse cast in Discovery, which is awesome. I'm excited to see what they do with these characters, really.
And I think it's about time. You know, I think that Discovery season 1 did a good job introducing us to Cupid and Stamets and their relationship. But I mentioned this to you separately. I do think that Star Trek has been a little bit behind the times when it comes to representation, particularly since, you know, we have like, it's like a 18-year, 17-year gap between, my math might be wrong, the end of Enterprise and then the beginning of Discovery. So just in that time frame, so much has happened in the entertainment world, where by the time Discovery season 1 came along, you know, like it's a little bit like, okay, like sure, this is good, it's great, but it's a little bit, you know, like whatever in some ways, because there's been so much, at least same-sex representation from same-sex couple, but also cisgender kind of perspective. That it's not that extraordinary or original. And then the only other mention when it comes to LGBT representation between the two series would be the really quick shot of Sulu, I think in Beyond, was it?
Beyond, yeah.
Yeah, that you saw
Beyond,
that he had a husband or a partner.
right.
And but that was almost like throwaway. It was like literally like 10 seconds or something.
Right. And that was also very controversial for a number of reasons. They felt like that was kind of thrown in. There was some, there was a lot of controversy around it. I don't think we need to get into that. I think
so anyway, I do think that Star Trek for what it is and how much it has pushed the boundaries in the past, honestly, I think in the TNG and onward era, it hasn't really pushed the representation aspect when it comes to the LGBTQIA plus arena. So I do think that this puts Star Trek a little bit more on the forefront because there really isn't that much representation when it comes to folks who are non-binary or folks who are transgender. So I do think it's great.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with everything you said. Star Trek has not been really cutting edge, and now we're back to a place where we are cutting edge, kind of like they were in the 60s with the original series and having a Black woman, her on the bridge, you know. So yeah, I think that this is really exciting. I think this really brings up a great point about representation, and I love that the characters that they're playing are representative of who they are, because there's been a lot of it's not like a straight person that's playing a gay person, which happens all the time,
right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's really exciting to see, and hopefully that kind of spills over into hopefully this kind of diversity, which I think it will spill over into Strange New Worlds, and also the Section 31 series and whatever else is coming down the pike for other series that maybe might come about at some future point. So
I am very curious as to how they are going to present the characters in terms of just revealing that one character is non-binary and one is transgender, considering that they're going to be in the 32nd century. So in some ways, I feel that like the nice thing about how they showed Stamets and Culber is that it was very natural, right? They didn't have to be like, I'm gay, like it was just like you saw them together. Even at first, it wasn't, you didn't quite know what the nature of the relationship were, but then you saw that they were like, brushing our teeth together, they lived together. So kind of just, it spoke for itself, what I mean? Whereas someone who is non-binary or someone who is transgender, it's not so obvious. Right. And I think there needs to be some sort of reveal or some sort of discussion about it. But at the same time, given that it is in the 32nd century, I wonder what the kind of conversation looks like. And I think that coming out in 1,000 years, it's going to be very different than what coming out is like now. And in some ways, I mean, in theory, it's not a big deal, right? Like that's why I think it should be by that time.
Well, it's interesting too that it's a trill. So trills can be, trill hosts can be different sexes. I mean, so the symbiote,
right?
Can be put into a male and female, and that was very evident, right from when we really got into it in Deep Space Nine with Herzan and Jadzia. So this whole transgender piece of a trill is going to be very interesting, because I don't know, and I think I read that they are not a joined character yet. They want
not
to
yet.
Be,
yeah,
they desire to be, but so this will be really interesting. And then the non-binary character Adira, going to be really interesting to see what kind of character development they give them. And we're trying to, I think one of the things that this is going to help us really practice and talk about is pronouns.
Pronoun use.
Yeah.
Which, I'll be honest, sometimes I slip up. I'll be totally frank about that. I've lived my in terms of my existence in terms of pronoun use, it's very honestly, it's very like heteronormative and traditional in that way. So I'll be honest, I've definitely slipped up here and there. It's something that I had to learn, and I'm interested to see how they reveal that in the show and how they address it and how natural it is. Because the thing about Star Trek, especially when it comes to gender, and I see this a lot in Enterprise, to be honest, is that it has taken a very traditional heteronormative approach when it comes to gender and referring to gender. Even when you're talking about Jadzia and her previous host, it's very like male, female, you know, like, and sometimes it's uncomfortable because, you know, a previous host is a different sex, and it causes like confusion. And there are a few episodes that touch on that, but it has been very black and white when it comes to, you know, comes to the nature of gender. So I do think it will be interesting to see how they deal with that in this season of Discovery.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think when you read that, you texted me, and I hadn't seen it yet, and it was really exciting news.
Yeah, it's very cool.
To see that. And I think that makes this next season stand out even more, which kind of leads us into, I think, very, very smoothly into the Discovery trailer that was released last week. And, you know, we're in the year 3188 now.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a year. We're in the 32nd century. The Federation has fallen, it appears, due to something.
Or like it's like a shadow of its former self or something.
Right.
Like that.
So there's this thing that they call the burn that happened, and you know, there's a lot of questions about this. In fact, I just read an article today before we started recording on there's some rewatching Voyager is what I'm doing. I mean, I'm picking and choosing. I'm not watching every episode, and I've completed season 4. So so the episodes that they talked on, they think that this might be tied to something that might be tied to the Omega Directive.
Oh yeah, no, I read that on, was it Trek Core or Trek Movie or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
that would be interesting if they tie it into that.
Yeah, so there's that whole piece. They think that maybe an Omega explosion killed all of subspace. So
warp drive is not possible.
Warp drive is no longer possible, and so that's kind of interesting. And obviously,
that is just, by the way, everyone, that is just rumor, is not a teaser.
Yeah, no,
it's
not at all.
Rather, it's just a rumor.
Right.
So,
yeah, this is
pure
all
conjecture.
Yep, pure conjecture, because obviously all we have is the trailer to go by. And you know, I think a couple of things that stand out for me in the trailer is that the Discovery crash lands on a planet.
Yeah, that was a cool visual.
Yeah, kind of frightening too, to see it kind of in the ground, and the warp nacelle kind of flashing. And then also, you know, there's obviously, even way before this, they teased and have shown some scenes or shown some cuts of meeting someone trying to resurrect the Federation. So this is apparently Sonequa Martin Green doesn't meet up with the rest of the Discovery crew for a couple of episodes, but she does meet what appears to be the president of the current Federation.
No, isn't like some. To me, I remember from the first trailer, you see this person. It looks like some rando in a bunker.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, he was in a bunker, but he has the Federation flag down there.
Yeah, I'm like, who is this rando?
So we don't know who that is. I assume that was the Federation president. Maybe it's not. Who knows? And also the other thing, obviously, like, and there's been some talk about this, although I can't really get a good view of it. I've seen it in a couple of parts of it, is the new badge that they're wearing, specifically Saru wearing it, sitting in the command seat, which makes me think that maybe Saru becomes the captain. Again, pure speculation. But I also see Sonequa Martin Green wearing it in a scene as well. So
more merchandise for you to buy.
There we go. I mean, I already know our friends at Fansets are probably working on this.
I'm sure they're working on it, and you're going to be first in line.
I don't know. There's a lot of people on this network who love fan sets even more than I do. So, but
That's
yes.
true. Bill and Dan, they are really into the paraphernalia, as I like to call it.
Yes, they love the Trek merchandise. I still have to work on my display case. I need to take it apart and make some edits because
I can't help you.
No,
Absolutely not.
But my collection is modest and small.
Wait, what about the Lego set that you got?
Oh
Did you put it
yeah,
together yet?
I'm halfway. Well, I'm 2 bags in. It's a nice solid.
What is it supposed to be again?
So this is not Star Trek related. This is Star
it's
Wars.
Star Wars, yes. I was like, there's a stormtrooper on it.
Yes.
I know our listeners can't see, but
no, they can't.
I can't. It's a thing. I can't.
Yes.
Describe it any further.
It's the Razor Crest from the Mandalorian, which is the Mandalorian's ship in that series. So.
Oh, season 2, the trailer just dropped.
That's
too. Off topic.
Yeah, that's off topic. We'll get to that in a little bit. So any other thoughts on the trailer for Discovery season 3?
I mean, it didn't give us too much more than the first trailer that we saw.
Right.
We got a little bit more of Book and his cat, which, I'm a big fan of the cat. It's very fluffy.
You are a big fan. Okay.
I mean, it's so fluffy. It's a Maine Coon. For those of you that
Coon.
are curious, it's really big. He wears it Book wears it like it's like a scarf. And I'm like, ooh, if I ever got a cat, I want to wear a cat like that. That's perfect. So you saw a few tidbits here and there. I think there was a short BTS piece on StarTrek.com about the cat, which I was really into.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I did watch that, so I did know about the cat. I actually didn't pick it up in the trailer the first time.
And yeah, he's wearing this cat, it's basically like it's protecting his neck. It's like a Canada Goose hood, except it's a cat on his neck.
There we go.
So I'm trying to think if there's anything else. No, I think that you covered most of it. I think that Sonequa Martin Green sometimes overacts a little bit for me. I think that she's a good actress, but sometimes I think she overdoes it in terms of the drama. And I like drama once in a while. I think that sometimes she just goes a little bit dramatic in terms of her reactions. Sometimes I feel that she's on a soapbox, kind of everything's a lecture. I don't know. I think it's a way that she talks, and I think that she has a theater background. So I don't know if part of it is because of the way that she articulates her words or how she speaks. But sometimes it feels very stiff. I don't know. That's just something that I noticed in the new trailer, and I was just like, I feel she needs to loosen up a little bit. Obviously, this is the 3rd season of the character, so I feel that she's comfortable with who she is as character. But I don't know. That's just something I really did notice in this particular trailer.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that you don't see her with a lot of the cast, right? So it seems like the crew. Well, obviously, the crew and her are separated for a while, and because it looks like when they first get to the 32nd century, she has short hair, and then all of a sudden there's this still that they use quite often of her on the bridge with really long hair.
Braids.
Yeah, braids. So it sounds like some significant time to grow that much hair. But
I think in the first teaser you see that she has a lot of different haircuts, actually. She's in a shuttle or something, and you don't know why she's there, but she goes through there's a montage of different hairstyles, which is, so it's what's happening.
Right. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. Also, since she's separated from the crew, she does kind of seem, I don't know if she seems more dramatic, other than in this trailer, you see her screaming yes when she registers other life signs. So she knows that the crew of Discovery made it through the wormhole, whatever it was that they created to get to the 32nd century. And obviously she knows that the crew is alive, which is great, but there's some separation between the two of them. And, there is one shot of the crew hugging all in engineering. Don't know what that's about yet, but
don't know.
But yeah, it looks exciting.
About context. so we don't know.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we don't know what we're gonna see, but I'm excited. Obviously we have been waiting forever. It seems like for season 3. Coronavirus, COVID-19, obviously tilted the world upside down, and it still is 6 months later. But here we are, finally getting in a month. Actually, I think in exactly 1 month. Season 3.
Yeah, they just posted like a 1 month countdown piece yesterday. So
yeah,
it's a month away.
that's
October 15th.
exciting. Yeah, so coming soon, and that's exciting. So we'll have new Discovery to get us through the dark times.
Through another year.
Yes. So cool. What else happened? So there was this other story about a cameo from a Next Generation character that we all know and love. So John Delancey is reprising Q. He's going to visit the Cerritos.
But apparently it's supposed to be a very quick cameo.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but if you get John Delancey to kind of do a cameo, I feel like it needs to amount to something, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, it's a 25-minute cartoon,
I understand.
It's a slightly different take on it. But yeah, and apparently, because I also listened to the new official Star Trek podcast, The Pod Directive, which came out on Monday. Apparently they wrapped on the voices. They wrapped a long time ago, last year. And in fact, the podcast that they're now launching was also recorded last year. So
oh really?
Yeah. So
wow.
It's been a while. So I mean, it took us 5 months to launch a podcast. I mean, I guess
that's true.
But, when you're CBS, I don't think it should take, if you want to do a podcast, I don't know why it's taking so long to do that. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But I thought that was interesting to listen to Tawny Newsome and I can't remember the guy who's co-hosting it with her, but a friend of hers, who apparently is going to be in an episode of Lower Decks in season 2 as a voice. So, but you know what? I do like the context of the new podcast. One, I do love Tawny Newsome. I think she's great as Mariner, but she's also got a great energetic voice, and I like the take that they're talking with famous people who happen to be Star Trek fans. So
oh, cool. I should probably listen to it. I know it came out. I just haven't subscribed yet.
Yeah, I mean, Ben Stiller was the first one, and it was a interesting, nerdy conversation, not unlike ones that you and I have or had before we started recording them for the podcast. But so it's just kind of that. It's not informational. It's purely entertainment. So yeah, that's all that I can think of. I have not had time to watch any of the panels, so I really don't know what else.
Yeah, I'm not a panel person. I just don't have time. Just give me like the TLDR version.
Right.
Show me the trailer. Give me the major news items. I don't need to watch 60 minutes of people talking.
Right. Well, and I don't know. There was a Deep Space Nine one, which I may actually view. There
was an Enterprise one. They had one for every show.
Yeah. So, but yeah, again, I was on vacation. I did not have time to view or listen to any of that. So, if our listeners did watch any of that and did hear any great tidbits, please let us know.
Yeah, I'll be interested to hear if there were like any awkward moments, because sometimes these panels, especially over Zoom, I think once in a while it's like a little awkward. You need a really good moderator. I mean, I think Will Wheaton moderated all of them, right?
Several of them, if not all of them.
Yeah, he's pretty good at that, so hopefully not. But
yeah, and he's also a fan, so he's also really good about bringing in the geeky nature of it all and making us feel at home. My problem with it is that they are heavily edited. usually just like the panels were for San Diego Comic-Con. So, there isn't, it's, what are you leaving on the cutting room floor that you know?
Probably all the awkward moments.
Yeah, maybe the awkward moments, but still. So that's my only problem with those panels, is that you can do a panel on Zoom without having to make it heavily edited and make it seem all, I'd rather see more realness from these people than an edited down version. But
yeah.
Anyway, so that's pretty much all that you and I have Star Trek this week, or this past 2 weeks.
It was a lot.
It was a lot, yeah. That is a lot to talk about. That's quite a bit of news, and we're halfway through the season of Lower Decks, which I think is a perfect segue into Spilling the Truck.
Aw, you guys are such a great couple.
Oh, what can I say? I found the perfect guy.
Look, I'm not perfect, okay? But I do have the perfect friends.
No, Nico, you are the nicest, smartest, handsomest guy on this ship. It's either that or you're a Harvongian shape changer. You're too I'm not gonna sit around and let a face get melted. Not again.
Yes. So let's talk about the two most recent episodes, Cupid's Errant Arrow and Terminal Provocations. So why don't we start with Cupid's Errant Arrow first. So I'm just going to read the synopsis from Mary Alpha. It's very short. Mariner is suspicious of Boimler's new girlfriend. Tendi and Rutherford grow jealous of a bigger starship's gear. Very straightforward.
Yeah, that sums up that episode pretty nicely. What did you think of it? What was your takeaways from it?
Yeah, so I know we're talking about Cupid's Errant Arrow first.
Yes.
But I felt the same way about both this episode and Terminal Provocations, in that I felt that I mentioned this to you offline, but I feel that these episodes are fine, but I feel that it's starting to get a little stale, because they're starting to get very formulaic, particularly because I don't know why, but the writers have really decided to pair Boimler and Mariner together in almost every episode. One of the better episodes that aired where they kind of broke out of this kind of formula was Temporal Edict. And we actually saw things kind of get spiced up a little bit, where Mariner was stuck with Ransom and Boimler was interacting with Captain Freeman. I think that breaking out of this formula really helps to energize things. And honestly, for the past 2-3 episodes, they've been kind of doing these pair-ups. So I do think that it's starting to get a little bit too comfortable in this formula. And I think it's actually to the detriment of the show. I do think that there's still a lot of fun. There's still definitely a lot of good throwbacks, good Easter eggs. But I think for the most part, you're starting to see the same interactions, the same pain points between the characters that are kind of explored over and over again. That Rutherford and Tendi, they kind of respect each other. They're both very geeky. They're going to, geek out over science. That's their connection. And, they're obviously seeding the idea that they're into each other and things like that. While Mariner and Boimler, that they're just very different. For the most part, they have very different approaches to Starfleet, their commitments to Starfleet, the idea of what it means to be a good Starfleet officer. And you basically almost see that in every episode. So you kind of come to expect what the interactions are going to be like. So I do think that, my hope is we have 4 more episodes. I do hope that they kind of switch things up a little bit so that it's not so expected, because I do think that is, again, it's kind of starting to get a little bit stale in terms of the week-to-week interactions between these 4 ensigns. But yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I've enjoyed the earlier episodes a little bit more than these last two. I did just rewatch them today, so they're fresher in my mind. But I was doing other things like work
Mhm.
while they were playing, so
Multitasking.
multitasking. But good in the background and some great one-liners. I'm pretty sure it's from Cupid's Errant Arrow, where I can't even remember who said it, but it was probably Boimler, talking about he was talking about Jet, Barbara's former boyfriend, and she said he was a little bit of like a he said something to the effect of he's a little bit of Kirk with some
Trip Tucker sprinkles or something.
Trip
I think that
Tucker
was
sprinkles.
Mariner, wasn't it?
I've got a bad feeling about Barb.
I know. I can't believe she used to date Jet. That guy's like a Kirk Sunday with Trip Tucker sprinkles.
I don't remember.
Mariner, well, you watched it most recently.
I want to say it was Boimler,
Okay.
complaining about Jet. So.
Yeah, they had two Enterprise references in that episode. It was Trip Tucker and the Suliban.
Suliban, yeah. So yeah, there were some great Easter eggs in that, but I thought that was kind of funny.
And a ton of Easter eggs on Mariner's conspiracy board.
Oh yeah, so many. I don't even know.
We're dropping it all.
Yeah. Transporter accidents, the salt, like TOS, the salt eater. I don't even know what
from the man trap.
Yeah, so many things. The dolphin.
Oh yeah. Oh my
from
god.
Next Generation, so many things. So Cardassian spy, all kinds of great things. So yeah, I mean there were some really funny parts to that episode. It was also really cool to see Deep Space Nine briefly,
very briefly.
Mariner in the black and gray uniform. That was a great scene when we saw her friend.
The flashback,
the flashback where her friend gets eaten. So it definitely gave some context to Mariner's career experience. I mean, she really has been on 5 ships. I enjoyed I actually enjoyed the kind of like conspiracy around is Barbara a robot? The Mariner says computer and program, thinking that she was a holodeck creation, all of these things. So and what I like about it is that she's not jealous. She's protective of Boimler, but she's not jealous. She has no jealousy. So this isn't like a hidden romance. Oh, like I like him or anything like that. So I really do.
I don't think we need that. I think it's
we get way too much of that from Tendi and Rutherford. This budding relationship, but that's another story. But I really like the best friends aspect of Mariner and Boimler, and so in that sense it was just enjoyable. But it was clear that Boimler was kind of going out of his mind, which is very Boimler.
It's so his character.
Yeah. So, the outfit that he puts on and tries to be the bad boy, that was almost like a reference to the Breakfast Club, I think, or something like that.
I've never seen the Breakfast Club.
Oh my word!
I'm sorry.
We're gonna stop recording right now.
I didn't go see the Breakfast Club right now.
He's gonna go watch the Breakfast Club, and we'll come back after these messages. Oh my gosh, oh man.
But it's such an old movie.
It's such a classic '80s movie, though.
I understand.
Oh, gosh, John Hughes, one of the best classic movies.
It's so old though.
From us growing up.
Yes.
Great. So if it's so old, that makes us so old as well.
It's true.
So yeah, I mean the background story, the scientific part of the background story was great. I mean, clearly it's a character-driven show, but it's nice to have this but in both episodes they had this overriding thing that the senior officers and others were dealing with. So I probably enjoyed Cupid's Arrow more so than Terminal Provocations. But and also just to briefly touch upon, it was nice to see a new class of starship, the Vancouver.
Yeah,
Definitely.
because we've been seeing a lot of California class.
Yeah, I mean bigger than the California class. And obviously the whole story with the T-88s. Well, I guess I'm just not that type of person where I get super competitive with someone over something like that, but it was kind of interesting.
Over a piece of equipment, I don't really understand. Can't anyone just replicate it? Like, why is it so special? I don't really get it.
Yeah, I don't get that either. So that's one of those things about this show where these things that don't actually make sense,
But we have totally talked about how there are many things that don't make sense when you have replicator technology. Like it's like, I don't understand, like when you have replicators and no money, there are a lot of things that just don't make sense. Like some of these conflicts that they set up, even going back to Picard, like some of the issues that they were having,
right?
Like we talked about that, like why is there this problem when you have replicators,
Right, exactly.
Like why is Rafi living in squalor when there's no money and replicators compared to Jean-Luc Picard who's living on his villa or whatever?
Right, and is she really living in squalor? I mean, I know we're not really talking about Picard, but we are. Yeah. But it does bring up, some of these.
She's living in a trailer in the middle of nowhere.
I mean, yes, she has a place to live. She has a roof over her head. She has wine in her house. I mean,
but she specifically chides Picard about, well, part of it being not to get too into Picard, but she chides Picard, and part of it because she's bitter, but she also says like, oh, you living on your like your mansion or whatever, right, with your antique furniture. I'm like, why does it even matter? Who cares about antique furniture? Like, you can replicate antique furniture if you want.
Right, whatever. Exactly, yeah. But anyway, coming back to Lower Decks.
Anyway.
So yeah,
no, it's like why does it even matter, these T-88s, when you can probably just pull up the specs and replicate it,
I did think it was interesting that and I don't remember the character's name, but he wanted to transfer them and he wanted to transfer to the Cerritos.
Oh, that was funny.
That was kind of interesting. He
was like, there's too much adventure on this ship.
Yeah, basically. Too much work, basically. He was basically feeling overworked. And all of
every week or something.
Yeah, exactly. He's references several different things that the Enterprise in Next Generation always dealt with. So I thought that was interesting. So yeah, and you kind of see obviously the beginnings of and it's been sprinkled throughout the series so far, just this relationship that's forming between Rutherford and Tendi, but I'm not at all like thrilled by that at all. It kind of.
Why are you not into it? Is it just because it's just like unnecessary, or what?
Yeah, I just don't know that we always need romance for people to get along, or to which is why I kind of really do like the Boimler Mariner relationship, because they're friends, and it but I also I'd love to see a little bit more exploration of Tendi. I mean, she's never in sick bay. Isn't that where she's supposed to work? She does everything but work in sick bay. So that's an interesting thing. And I'd kind of like to see Rutherford and Boimler hang out. And
yeah, well, that's what I was saying. That's what I was trying to say. I do think that they should change things up a little bit.
Yeah, but so those are some of my thoughts on that. Anything else you want to talk about with Cupid's errant arrow? Or should we move on to Terminal Provocations?
I think we can move on to Terminal Provocations. Okay. I mean, we've already brought it up a couple times, but...
Yeah.
We should get out of here. Computer end program. I said computer end program? That's not good. Badgie, run diagnostic.
You got it! Ow! Sorry about that. I didn't mean to hurt
you. Badgie, what the hell?
Oh, guess I'm just a stupid, worthless flinch!
Badgie?
Computer, re-engage safety protocols.
Safety protocols are unavailable.
Get off me! He's corrupted!
Can I teach you a lesson?
Let me just read the synopsis from, again, credits to Memory Alpha. The lovable but awkward Ensign Fletcher makes work difficult for Mariner and Boimler. Rutherford introduces Tendi to a holodeck training program he created. That's all we got.
That's all we got. Wow. So yeah, the two main points of this episode really were Fletcher and Badgie, right?
Yeah. And how they cause problems. They both cause problems.
Yeah, they both cause problems, and they're salvaging. The bridge crew is dealing with the salvage of a 100-year-old Federation starship.
Mm-hmm.
So
what did you think of Ensign Fletcher?
So I've read a little bit online just about how, and I think I've seen Mike McMahon's talking a little bit about how Fletcher was kind of based upon Barclay a little bit. Barclay was never really my favorite character. He was kind of a little bit too neurotic for, like, how do you get into Starfleet and be that neurotic and have that little of a social skill? But I guess, you know, that's my judgment. Fletcher,
the thing, you know, I thought that was weird though, is that when we're first introduced to Fletcher, I would say the first half of this episode before things go to shit, he seems fine. Like, you know, he doesn't seem to be awkward. He kind of helps out Mariner when she has that accident in the mess hall or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And he seems competent. He has good social skills. He knows how to deal with the senior staff.
Yeah.
Boimler and Mariner seem to like him. So I thought that there was this turn in the middle that went really quickly. And, you know, he messes up with whatever the shield, I don't know, computer core,
right?
The shield modulation. I don't know. Yeah, I feel they turn on him really quickly. Like, I don't know if you felt this, but I just thought that he was presented to be competent. He knew what he was doing. He seemed helpful. And then they come back and, you know, he's messed up. And they seem very annoyed at him. And toward as you progress, it seems like it's almost as if they're referring to the fact that he has had a history of being incompetent or not being up to snuff as a Starfleet officer. I thought that there was just the turn on him was very fast, especially how he was initially introduced to us as an audience.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and you know, as you were thinking about that, I was like, what happened? And I think the one thing that came in a flashback was that he attached the computer core to his brain.
Mm-hmm.
And so not only did he go into the brain, into his personality went into the core, but I think it messed him up a little bit. But or maybe that, obviously I guess that happened after that. So I don't know. I mean, I guess it kind of talks a little bit about like people's personas and different, you know, how people can appear one way and in reality be another way. And they do kind of turn on him quickly, but I think that I don't know if it's so quick because, you know, he does make their life worse, like exponentially worse.
Sure. But it's just like at the beginning, they were like, "Oh, you're so awesome! Thanks for helping."
Yeah.
You know, they just seem very like. On the other hand, Barclay, you know from the start that, you know, this guy is a little bit off or incompetent, or, you know, he was immediately presented as kind of like a buffoon, to be wholly honest, on TNG, versus here where I mean. Honestly, Fletcher's in it for one episode. There's not that much time for character development, but he didn't seem to be. He wasn't set up to be like Barclay, at least in my mind.
Yeah, no, and I think, you know, I agree. Like, there's not a lot of time to build up another character and really give him like too much context. But you know, I think that what happens is that he's the cause of the problem that actually. Like, it's a problem external to Boimler and Mariner that they need to solve before someone finds out.
Right.
Before they get into trouble. So I think that that's part of it. And I think that and this is the other part. I really like when they work together. they are a great team when they work together. And I think that, you know, so I think that, again, it's kind of the buddy movie matchup where, you know, they're given a problem and they need to solve it together. And
yes, I agree that when they work together, they make a great team. And you definitely see that in, you know, this situation.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, it's obviously exaggerated and expedited due to the nature of the show. But the other major issue, and tell me your thoughts on the Tendi Rutherford storyline in this episode. What did you think about that?
I thought it was fine. You know, it's just another. I mean, it's playing on obviously the, you know, traditional holodeck. You know, the holodeck goes around. Something goes around the holodeck. The safeties are turned off, and everyone's in danger. You know, so it's obviously a play on that, and also a play on Clippy. You know, the Microsoft Office little helper.
Yes, that I got right away too. Yeah. So that was interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was fine. You know, like I guess the one thing that we were supposed to get out of it is that, you know, Rutherford really likes Tendi.
Yeah, he really does.
He thinks that she's cute.
Yep.
But I mean, it was somewhat inconsequential.
Yeah, I mean, the Badgie thing, it's funny. I found, you know, the Clippy reference is so great because how annoying was Clippy and how annoying is Badgie, and Badgie is voiced by Jack McBair, who's, you know, done a number of things. The thing that I know him the most from is 30 Rock, where he plays the NBC kind of guide. But his voice is really annoying in this episode to me. It's you know, and in a previous episode, I know I've talked about Andy Dick, and I don't normally like Andy Dick, but I liked him as the EMH Mark II in Voyager on the Prometheus, but I really did not like Badgie. I did not like.
I mean, he was supposed to be annoying.
Yeah, and it just kind of like I wanted to skip over that part, and also to think that this Clippy version of Clippy stabs Rutherford. That's the other thing about this, you know, this specifically. I know the safety protocols are off. Rutherford gets his ass kicked.
I know he
gets stabbed, you know, I would say centimeters, if not millimeters, away from his heart by some object. It looks like a crystal or an ice crystal or something, and gets up and seems fine. And also, Rutherford breaks Clippy's neck, Badgie's neck. I mean,
it was like pretty violent, actually.
It was kind of, you know. So, I mean, obviously, it's it is the holodeck goes awry kind of subplot. And you know, but and it does come out through this final battle between Badgie and Rutherford that he did all of this to impress Tendi and thinks she's cute. But gosh, I could have done with a lot less of Badgie, and you know, they noted that he couldn't keep up physically, and that was never really explained. Like there shouldn't be any physical.
But then didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, they mentioned it, but they didn't, like, there was no solution to it or no explanation of it. So, you know, but so yeah, I could have done without that whole part of the episode. The part that I actually really wish there was more of, and over these two episodes, you know, you get to see Captain Freeman, and actually Captain Freeman's a pretty damn good captain. She in the last episode that we talked about, Cupid's errant arrow, she negotiates with this race.
They have like 6 different factions.
Yeah, she fixes all 5 of the 6, and then the one guy and his wife who own a planet, like, you know, once she finds out that, she's like, blow it up.
Yeah.
And you know, in this episode, she's like doing everything short of, you know, Shax starts the episode with a personal log wanting to blow blow up this salvage ship, which
They choose to take out their tractor beam. They choose to do that.
Yeah,
They had no other weapons.
And I'm fairly certain that J.G. Hertzler played the captain of that vessel. That vessel, he played not Gowron, but Martok. It's Martok. That is
Was
Martok.
it his voice?
Yeah, that was definitely his voice. So, but that was a really interesting. Captain Freeman shows a lot of reserve, and she wants to. She's like, "We're Starfleet. This is, this is what we do." So, I really, there's been some really subtle character development with Captain Freeman. Obviously, she, the episode with her and her daughter was a good one. But these little snippets of seeing her in command is actually really enjoyable, and I kind of like it. So, and oddly in this episode too, Shax and Dr. Tiana kiss at the, like, once they're
that's right.
Kiss. And I
forgot
was like,
about that.
I was like, what? That's so weird and random. Like, it's just, so that was kind of out there, but so there, I do like some of the development of the senior staff, although Shax is definitely over the top. But I actually am really beginning to really like Captain Freeman.
But this is part of the reason why I want to see more interaction between the senior staff and the ensigns too, because I do, I did enjoy, we had some issues with it, but I did enjoy Captain Freeman and Manor's interactions on Moist Vessel. Like they had some of those like mother-daughter moments, which were really good.
Yeah.
And then going back to Temporal Edict, the interactions between Captain Freeman and Boimler, and then Ransom and Mariner, like those are actually pretty good interactions to have, because you kind of see all these different facets of these characters that you don't get with just Tendi and Rutherford and Mariner and Boimler,
Yeah.
I do think that there's a lot of untapped potential there for us to see more of that. Because, like, Captain Freeman has her issues, like, because Temporal, on that Temporal Edict episode, she was going crazy, and she had to be reminded that people need to be able to operate at their own pace in order to be effective, basic management skills. But I do think that she does, she seems to have some skills as a captain.
But also in that episode that you just referenced, she has been practicing for this Cardassian peace talks or whatever, or she's going to this conference, and she gets screwed and has to deliver those gifts instead.
Trinkets.
And so it's kind of trinkets. Yeah, exactly. And so she's done all this work and she's kind of been screwed over by the Admiralty. So but I really am enjoying Captain Freeman, and I agree with you. I'd actually like to see Tendi and Rutherford kind of break apart as characters and go and interact with some of the senior staff as well.
Yeah, totally.
A little bit more. I'm curious,
because I feel that both Tendi, I'll be honest, Tendi and Rutherford are super underutilized.
Yeah.
Given given how many episodes we've had so far, like they haven't really done much, to be honest.
Yeah, I
mean, they have their time allotted, but they don't do much with it.
Right. There's no real deep. I mean, they're really focusing on the romantic piece of it, I think, or their relationship with each other,
like those cutesy moments.
Yeah, and we're really not getting in to see, like, I would love to see how Rutherford got the implant and why he got the implant. I'd love to hear more about Tendi's, background and kind of, we obviously know she's Orion, but what does that mean?
Yeah.
So I think that other than, one of the character traits about Tendi that I really don't like is that she wants everybody to like her, which, that drives me crazy.
I remember you saying you didn't like that.
I didn't like that.
You don't like people pleasers.
Yeah. It's just, they're not real, in my opinion. But
goodness.
But
no judgment here.
Yeah, no judgment here. But yeah, so these were good episodes. These weren't, great episodes. I'd probably again go back and watch Temporal Edict. I'd probably go back and watch even Moist Vessel.
Yeah. Which we thought was good, but not great.
Yeah.
Like it has moments.
Yeah. So, I mean, I definitely think that Cupid's Errant Arrow has a lot more to offer us than this Terminal Provocations episode. But yeah, you know, I hope for more in the last 4 episodes. Hoping we get to see more. We'll get another episode tomorrow, which we'll cover next week. But you know, I want more. You know, I want more of these characters. I want more of the senior staff. I would
love more character development. You know,
Yeah.
in general, I know that obviously a lot of the show is focused on humor.
Right.
And, you know, the situations that they get themselves into. But I would love to see more come out of the characters and see them kind of, you know, they definitely have the time for it. It's not, you know, it's just a matter of them wanting to focus on the character development.
Well, that pretty much sums up our thoughts on Lower Decks episodes 5 and 6. And
it's 5 and 6 already. And we're going to get Discovery in a month. It's like going by quickly.
It is quickly and not quickly enough in some respects. But yes. So let's move on to Off Topic.
Computer, hit it.
Hitting it.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about off topic, but we don't have to go through all of it because it can be another podcast.
It really could.
So one show that we're both watching is Away. Well,
Away.
I finished when I saw my parents, and you just finished episode 3.
I just finished episode
spoiler
3.
warning for people who have not seen it, because I think we're going to talk about spoilers up to episode 3.
Yeah, of Away. And even more specifically, we're going to talk about episode 3 because it, again, ties right into our podcast.
Yeah. So, you know, I remember talking to you and you had only seen 2 episodes.
I had,
and you
right.
thought it was okay. And then I don't know if I specifically asked you about the Asian character Lou, and I was like, oh, what do you think about her? And you said, oh, like, it seems like, you know, she might be a spy, or, you know, the person May in Mission Control that's talking to her is like, you know, passing on secret messages. And then I was like, just watch the next episode. I said nothing. I was like, just watch the next episode and we can talk about it. So you just watched episode 3 yesterday.
I did.
And
yeah.
Sorry for listeners that have no idea what the show is about. It's basically, I mean, it's basically like similar to like For All Mankind. It's like a space show. It's in the near future. It's a first mission to Mars. No aliens. It's all about the human drama. It's about the crew that is on its way to Mars.
Yeah, and they're the people back home who are left back home.
Yes.
This episode
they're
also
going away because they're going away. So what does it mean for those that are going away? Get it? And the people that they're leaving behind, and all the drama that ensues. And the star of it's Hilary Swank. You know, she plays the lead. She's fine, but it's really ensemble. Like, I think that's one of the interesting things.
Yeah, you know, my biggest complaint about it was that they're setting up this U.S., Russian, Chinese, like, kind of triad disagreement, like power struggle, which is very tropey and very boring. You know, so and that's, you know, before I'd watched episode 3, that's where I was at with that. Was it was just, I'm just tired of, honestly, like, the Chinese, Russian, US triangle. I'm just bored with it.
But tell us about episode 3.
So episode 3
focuses on Lou, who is
the Chinese
astronaut.
Yes, she's a Chinese mission specialist. And you know, we uncover through this episode that prior I thought she was a spy, but actually they were May, who is one of the best people, according to Hilary Swank's character in Mission Control. There was some chatter between her and Lou, and I thought it was very suspicious and very, you know, spy. I don't know if that's a word, but so we actually learned that they developed a relationship over the 2 years while they were prepping for this mission, and which I actually I really humanized Lou, first of all,
for sure, yeah.
which was great. And there was some really redemptive qualities in this episode, like the obviously Lou and the Russian. I can't remember his name right now, but
can't remember his name, unfortunately.
But she goes to him for help in trying to get a secure line back to Earth, because May is suddenly removed from the command team back on Earth. So, and that really, Lou gets very upset about this, for unknown reasons at first, but for obvious reasons later on. And you know, she goes to the Russian guy and asks if there's any way to like get a private call out, and he basically says, "I'm not going to help you cheat on your husband." And you know, so suddenly, which is a part I actually liked, suddenly the Russians and the Chinese aren't so close anymore, which I'm happy about. But more importantly, I think Hilary Swank's character really comes through. Actually, it's not even her, although May's replacement is Jack from the moon. I can't remember I just know his name is Jack. He was the commander of the moon base. He's obviously come back to Earth. He takes over for May's position, which seems like some sort of calm person between Earth and the mission. So I just thought it was so there's some dynamic between Hilary Swank and him, because he wanted the command, she ended up with it.
Right.
So there's that,
and then he
dynamic.
was the one that also spilled the tea about Lou to Hilary Swank's crew.
Right, but not to Hilary Swank.
Not to Hilary Swank.
To the boys, to the three guys that are on the crew. But Hilary Swank gets blamed for it by Lou. And so there's some, hatred, emotion, drama there. And then it's nice at the end that she actually arranges in conjunction with Jack. So there's some partnership between Jack and Hilary Swank's character. And then she's able to give Lou the opportunity to talk to May, which was a really nice conversation. I think one of the things I realized in this episode, and will probably become apparent should they get a second season and beyond, is the fact that Lou tells her that she'll come find her after all the parades and after her son grows up, and after all the accolades are kind of done. And my thought is, that's never going to happen. I mean, that may happen, but May is going to move on. I mean, I think that one of the things that everyone has to realize if you're going to go on a mission like that is the people that you leave behind are not going to be the same people that you're going to come back to in 3 years.
Right.
So, I can kind of foresee some issues should this series go to its whatever completion it does. So yeah, but it was really nice that Hilary helped set that up and gives that to her in a way that is supportive, from an LGBTQ perspective. I think it's great to know that there's a lesbian on the crew, or even a bisexual. She has a husband and she has a son, but she did let May know early in the episode in flashbacks that there isn't any passion or love in that relationship. So yeah, it was great to see another gay character come out of the blue in the form of a very traditional Chinese woman. So yeah, that was exciting to see. So I'm glad that, and you told me to watch episode 3. That was a couple of weeks ago. It literally has been about 2 weeks since we watched episode 1 and 2. So,
did Dennis watch it with you?
Yeah, he was doing some other things. We were doing some paperwork that we need to get done. But, so yeah, but yeah, so it was good. It was really good. So I'm really happy to see that, and it'll be interesting to kind of because it's very, so far the show is very heteronormative, as you would say.
Right.
It's very, you know, the Hilary
Very
Swank's
traditional
character,
family, yeah.
you know, has a husband back home. You know, in this episode, it also comes up that her husband is going to be possibly never going to walk again.
All the drama.
Yeah.
So much
So there's
drama.
that drama. Obviously, the Russian and the I want to say Indian guy are obviously heterosexual. We
Mhm.
don't really know about the other guy who's from Burma or somewhere else.
I do not recall.
Yeah. So but anyway, so it's it's nice to have that piece in there.
Yeah.
It won't really play out. It's not going to play out anymore, at least not for a while, probably, given that, you know, this is within the first probably several weeks of them on their way to Mars. So of a 3-year journey. So it's not really going to, you know, come up probably too much. That's my estimation. You've seen the whole episode.
I have seen. So
you're keeping a very good.
You have 7 more episodes to go.
Yeah.
So I need to be careful about what I say because I don't want to
Yes.
spoil anything.
You have a great poker face right now, which is great, and I want you to, because I think I wouldn't have enjoyed this episode as much had you told me what happened. So
Yeah, no, I wanted you to see it, and I wanted your response. Yeah, no, I mean, I think you summarized it pretty well. I do think that they did a wonderful job bringing about their relationship and kind of showcasing it and showing how it slowly evolves over the 2 years that they're working together before the mission. And, you know, and for me, it's particularly resonant because it is like 2 Chinese characters, and not just 2 Chinese characters, 2 Chinese women, which, you know, I don't relate to, but I do relate to the Chinese aspect of it. And, you know, the great thing is their Chinese was they actually hired Chinese people to speak Chinese, like, you know, like people who actually know Chinese, and I understood what they were saying, and it actually was more or less what you saw in the closed captioning. So I was like, thank God, because so often you see people talk in Chinese and it's like, that's not Chinese, or it's like very poor Chinese. And these are, because they're supposed to be Chinese, they're supposed to be from China, so their accents were spot on, like they're legit Chinese people.
Yeah, I mean, their first language was Chinese, not English.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So I was like, thank God, you know, they're real Chinese and they're speaking in Chinese, and
Yep.
you know,
agree.
it's, you know, at least that part's correct. That being said, I do, you know, it was just particularly resonant for me because the big conflict with Lou is that she is coming from a very traditional heteronormative society and culture that very much values the idea of family, you know, like that is, and I had a pretty lengthy discussion with my friends about this because, you know, she watched away, like all of it, and she was really mad at the Chinese government, like, you know, like that they would do this to Lou and that they would force them apart. And I was like, yeah, but you have to understand, it's China. Like, you know, like they have a very traditional viewpoint when it comes to family. It is very foundational to their culture. And she was like not having it. And I had to like talk her down a minute. And I was like, look, like this is a culture that has been around for 5,000 years. You know, they're not going to change overnight, you know, and a lot of their values have been around for many, many, many generations. And sure, you can say like, right now, the communist regime, you know, has particular influence, and there's other stuff, and you know, there's politics in the mix. But you can draw everything that they hold dear back to this idea of filial piety, right? This idea that it's not about the individual, it's about your family, it's about the bigger whole, it's about the state, right? And there's value in that because I think it's, especially, I think this is one of the things that they kind of touch on in the show. It's like what East versus West, right? West is all about you needing to be your best self. You need to be an individual. It's all about self-expression. It's all about being authentic. quote unquote authentic and being real. Whereas for people who are living in China and honestly many parts of Asia, is not about the individual, it's about the collective. It's about the greater whole. It's about your family. It's about the family line. And to say that Western values are better than Eastern values is very unfair. You know, like you can't just say it is like one is better than the other. Like, you know, it's just very different viewpoints. I personally, you know, I'm very much assimilated, like, you know, so I very much think in Western culture values. So I do have this idea that that there should be some sort of compromise, like, you know, that your idea of self and being authentic should not totally be sacrificed for the idea of being part of the collective, right? Like there needs to be some sort of give and take between the two. Because I do think sometimes Western values probably to emphasize individuality a little too much. And then we, you know, this is why we leave old people in nursing homes and old people aren't valued in Western culture versus how they are taken care of in Eastern culture. You know, like there's so many pros and cons to both, right? So I'm like, you know, I get it. So for me, it was very much this tug of war, like, because I saw Lou struggle and she's married and she has a child and she has this commitment and she can't just abandon that for her own joy, right? She can't just, she wants to be authentic, but she's already made a commitment. And there's no perfect solution, you know, like, and I know people who have been in relationships, they have children, and then they come out in their 50s or 60s, and it doesn't end well, you know, like they decide they need to start all over, they need to live this other life, and it doesn't always end that way. I do know a few folks who, you know, have been able to make a compromise and kind of figure things out. But for the most part, I would say in many cases, they kind of need to start their own lives, you know, and that in some ways they need to like leave their family behind in order to be authentic and to be true to who they are. And that is a very Western POV. Like, you know, that would not fly in like, you know, China. Like you can't just like abandon, you know, I mean, you could, but that's not okay. So I thought that they did an awesome job kind of cultivating the many layers of the politics, of the culture, of Lou as an individual, and kind of showcasing that there really is no easy answer. You know, she wants, like you're saying, she eventually, when her child grows up, she wants to then, you know, then that's an opportunity, right? But who knows? So I thought that they just did a really good job of kind of showcasing like a very complex character, and kind of the really, honestly, like multi-layered situation that she's in. And yeah, it was, and they also did a really great job to kind of just showing those emotional beats between her and May. And, you know, it was heartbreaking, like, because, you know, the scene where at the very end, their last phone call was so good. But anyway, yeah, I thought that this was definitely one of the highlights of the season. You know, I'm glad you saw it. I'm glad you saw it yesterday.
Yeah, and I mean, I think your summary and your perspective on it is awesome because you know, I'm a Western white gay male, so I mean, it's not right. But I would say that I would say that I appreciate hearing your perspective on the clash between Western and Eastern values. It's a really good point, and I think our listeners are going to get a lot out of that. So I think it's important to consider. I do think that there's some happy medium, or there's some. I think that there's an opportunity to have a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B, whatever the percentage works for you. You know, I definitely think that, you know, certainly we're in the middle of a pandemic right now, and I think that all of the stuff that we see online from, you know, just some ridiculous stuff of our people complaining about my individual rights are being taken away by wearing a mask. And, And
yeah,
that's taking it too far. And there are a lot of causes for that, which we're not going to go into because neither one of us likes to talk about politics. But I think that there is value in having a bit of column A and column B. Being an individual, but also knowing that you're part of a community. Whatever that community is, whether that is the United States, China, a family, a state, whatever it is, like you're part of a community. Could be a church community, could be a community like Hell's Kitchen in New York, or any place like that, or a small town. So I think that there's an opportunity to really to find balance between those two different points of view, or those two value systems, I should say. They're value systems. So
I do think that's a good point. I think a lot of the issues that we're having in Western democratic culture is this idea that people are just too focused on themselves.
Yeah.
And honestly, at the end of the day, it just gets to a point where it's just selfishness, like, it's just like, it's great that you want to be authentic and true to who you are, but at a certain point, it's too much, it leans too far in one direction.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, like that whole perspective too comes down to climate change and things like that we actually do need to change as a society, as a whole society. We're doing far too much damage to this world, and it's not going to be able to sustain us all for very much longer at the rate that we're going. So I think that at some point we're going to have to consider what's the greater good here.
Yeah.
But cool. That was an unexpected but kind of cool discussion in our off topic. I know a couple other things that you.
There's so much. Yeah,
there is so much.
Well, do you have anything else other than Away?
The only thing I finished actually today, was the new Star Wars book on audio.
Okay.
Yeah, which was really good. Timothy Zahn is a fantastic writer and does a great job with the character of Thrawn, which is a alien, blue-skinned alien Chiss. And this is kind of his this new first book in a new trilogy is all about his early years. So it was really good. But that's really all I have. I know you have some really great stuff, though. I mean, you did binge watch a lot over that weekend, but
I did. That's true.
Maybe one of the one or two of the highlights. Well, I know one of the highlights was definitely Mulan, but
I was like, yeah. Speaking like as we're talking about East versus West Mulan,
right,
yeah. So I had a Mulan viewing party, and I actually thought Mulan was fine, and then I started to think about it more, and there were all these issues, and I'm sure people, our listeners have probably heard about some of the controversy about where they filmed in China and some of the human rights issues, and how a lot of people have also objected to even the idea that as you watch it on Disney Plus, there are no like Chinese closed captions, like even like just random things like that, where I think the problem is this, the issue about a property like Mulan is that you can't satisfy everyone.
Sure.
And I think what they really tried to do with this particular interpretation Mulan is they want to make sure that it made money in China. So they kind of switched up the narrative a little bit. There's a lot of duty to family in this one that is an original, but this one I think really hits it much more over the head. And I don't know, it's like there are elements of it that you can tell were politicized. It's a little bit messy. I liked it. Again, I liked it at first viewing, and it was a viewing party and had some friends over and it was fun.
And maybe
But-
just really quick clarify, you didn't have a party of like 20 people.
No,
You
no,
had a
it was 4
small
people.
group of
Small group of people. It was
over to watch
not.
it.
Yes, that would be not okay. But yes, I enjoyed it, but you know, it has its issues. But yeah, no. So I watched Mulan, and then also very quickly other things I've been watching. So I'm watching Raised by Wolves, which is on HBO Max, and I recommend that to you. That is Ridley Scott is one of the producers, and he directed the first 2 episodes, and it's really good. It's really sci-fi. It's the whole premise is the Earth has been essentially destroyed because of whatever climate change, people,
right?
all the things, and they people need to start over. But it's all about, I'm listening to the accompanying podcast because it goes pretty deep.
Yeah.
But the whole idea is you go to a new planet, you start over, and guess what? You bring all the same shit with you. You bring all the same issues, all the same drama, all the same conflicts. It doesn't matter. You think like you go to a new planet and you can just start with a clean slate. Nope. Human nature basically goes along wherever it's brought. And, whether it is the issues between people or the way in which we are destructive towards nature, it's basically propagated, to wherever we go.
Yeah. I'm sure that it probably also talks about the individual versus the community in some aspect, or perhaps.
There is a little bit of that. Yeah. It's like pretty complicated. I do suggest you watch it because I don't want to spoil too much of it.
Yeah, sure.
As you know, like there are androids involved, things like that.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. So that's
okay.
Great.
Well, there are.
Yeah. Great.
So yes, it is fascinating. I do suggest it's a little bit slow. I did fall asleep in the last episode very briefly and to rewind, but that was also after dinner, so I was having food coma, so that was an issue.
And so this is an episodic thing. It's not a dump like on Netflix where you can watch all 10 episodes. This is a weekly series. They started out with 3 episodes, right? So
HBO Max is they dropped 3 episodes first night, and then each week they're dropping 2 episodes at a time.
Oh, wow.
I think there's only 10 episodes in the season, but they're dropping 2 episodes at a time.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And yeah, I suggest watching it. It's very high quality. You see, it's expensive looking. I suggest it. I'm also watching The Boys on Amazon Prime, and I think you're planning to watch that at some point.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I watched season 1. I've actually watched season 1 twice. Did I? No, only once. I've watched
The Boys is really good. The only issue I have with The Boys is I am very stressed out when watching it because anyone can die at any moment. Like someone can explode. Someone can just come and kill. Like, it's like death comes quickly on this show. Like, you can be just talking to someone and they're dead, and just all of a sudden. So I'm just very stressed out watching it because I'm like bracing for the next, guts flying everywhere.
Gotcha.
But it is really good. I enjoy it. There's not much in terms of messaging. I wouldn't, there's not much of a
there's been some talk online about how it kind of reflects a lot of the present day.
There are. It's like the whole idea of how power corrupts,
and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Yeah.
But it's not exactly, I would say, subtle.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Cool.
I'm also last. I'm almost done. Last, I'm watching Lovecraft Country, which I definitely think, Mike, you need to watch. It is so good. So it's a fantasy series. I would kind of bucket into fantasy. It's like historical fantasy. It's supposed to take place in the 50s, and it's kind of like alt history. It's a little bit alt history.
Okay.
But the setting is America in the 50s. So there's segregation, there's a lot of blatant racism. Not that has changed, but it's even more blatant.
Yeah.
But it's all kind of wrapped up in this sci-fi environment. And then also you throw in a little bit of H.P. Lovecraft. So you have this there's a little bit of horror, not too horror. It's not like Penny Dreadful horror, but there are a few moments where it's but it's really fascinating. I did not know that H.P. Lovecraft was a racist / white supremacist.
Oh,
I did not know that.
Okay.
And that is kind of wrapped up in this whole narrative. Like it's very interesting. I don't want to talk about it any further because I don't want to spoil it.
Yep.
But it's really good. I suggest our listeners give that a watch too. There's a lot of, I mean, the thing is more about the racism than the sci-fi, fantasy, horror aspect. And this doesn't spoil anything, but the true horror is racism. It's not the monsters or
right
or what. It's about human hatred, and that that's real horror. So it's very interesting. A lot of allegory.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for giving me and our listeners a ton of things to watch and catch up on. If
maybe not Mulan. Mulan's going to come out on Disney Plus for everyone to stream in December. So if you want to watch Mulan, I suggest you wait. I don't suggest paying $30 for it unless you have a friend who's hosting a mini watch party and they decide to pay the $30.
Yeah. The rest is on a variety of Amazon and Netflix and HBO. So yeah, we've got the three of the four or major networks there covered. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. That was a lot.
On Hulu, but maybe not right now.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up Off Topic. So now I guess we should walk down the corridor and head into Deanna's office, maybe for a little.
Hi, Counselor Troy. What's up?
Come in. Hi.
You got a minute?
Sure.
Let's so this is our segment, Dishing with Deanna.
Yeah, so Mike, what has been going on in your personal life? How was P-Town?
So
did you go to TikTok? Did you go to the TikTok? Did you hang out
Every time you
TikTok?
say that, we have to mark our episodes explicit.
Yes.
So yes, we went on vacation to Provincetown and Massachusetts, and no, we did not go to the TikTok. That is not our thing.
Not even from afar.
We actually did walk down a street that is right beside it, but I didn't realize it until we were walking back up the street.
Oh, okay.
Because I've never been down there. We just saw a street that you could walk down to the water, towards the water on, and we did, and that was.
Were there a lot of gays?
No, it was really. I mean, so we got there on Tuesday the 8th, which was the day after Labor Day, and pretty much everyone had been there through Labor Day and had probably taken off that morning as we were taking off from New York. They were
okay, so you probably just missed all of them.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely missed a few people messaged me after they saw a pic of Dennis and
they were like, I was just there.
Yeah. So no, we had a good time. There's it's nice to be by the ocean. It's nice to see lots of sand. It was just ocean air.
Too bad you don't like seafood.
Yeah, no, I know.
There, right?
Yeah, that is a thing there, obviously. Yeah, I do not like seafood. I know that's going to come as a horrifying shock to our listeners, but I just do not eat seafood for a variety of reasons. And but Dennis does, and so Dennis enjoys quite a bit of seafood. So he was happy with that. We went kayaking in the marshes. It sounds less gross than it was. It's actually a protected area, essentially. So it's part of I want to say the National Land Preserve. And so we went kayaking for 2+ hours there, which was a good workout. Of course,
2 hours.
Of course, one of the straps on my seat on my kayak broke, and it put me off balance, and I fell into the water. Within
I fell in
for like.
Oh my gosh, that sounds gross. It's
It was
actually marsh.
no,
Is it
no. So
muddy?
this is no. So this is it happened in early in the kayaking adventure. We were actually out near the jetty, which is this rock
Okay.
wall that is built, is man-made. So the water was deep. It was just.
Did you capsize or just fall in?
No, I literally capsized. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's a disaster.
I also had our phones in a Ziploc bag in my pocket, so they got a little wet.
Oh, you weren't carrying one of those like waterproof bags or whatever?
We couldn't find for a previous vacation we bought things to put our phones in, but we couldn't find it for this
That's
trip.
suboptimal.
Yeah, so they were just in a regular Ziploc bag.
Dumb.
So, well, I didn't expect to tip over, but and it was fine. The water was actually not a bad temperature. It wasn't freezing.
I would have been displeased. There would have been screaming.
Yes, there probably would have been screaming had you been there.
Yes.
An important note to make, self-note to make, and to remind Dennis when he wants to invite you on vacation with us.
I mean, I don't mind kayaking. I don't want to capsize.
No, and I think the only reason why I did is because one of the hooks broke that held the seat in place, and so I lost I overcompensated in rowing and fell over, and totally capsized the boat. So
unfortunate.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. It was fine, for the most part. I did dry out for the most part, but it did get super cloudy and later on. So towards the end, walking back to our hotel, I got cold. There is that aspect of it. Yeah. But it was good. The weather wasn't great. It kind of got progressively cloudier and cooler.
Oh yeah, I saw.
Yeah. So, but it was still a good getaway. And then we went back to southeastern Massachusetts, where the Cape meets the rest of Massachusetts. And we hung out with my sister and her family, and we met up with some of my friends there. So he got to meet some of those people, and that was really nice. So
sounds delightful.
Yeah, and then we drove back, and
now we're here.
Now we're here, and Monday this week, let me tell you. So this is Wednesday as we're recording it, the 16th of September, and this week has been. Actually, Monday was an effing week, all wrapped into one. Tuesday got slightly better, and today it was manageable. Wow. Hurricane September has hit. And it's been brutal.
And fall is here.
And fall is here. Yes, you and I talked before we started recording about, fall is here. The temperature. I'm wearing a sweatshirt in my apartment as we're recording this.
Is it that cold, or do you just have low tolerance for coldness?
I have low tolerance for cold. And once I'm cold, so that was the problem capsizing in the boat. Like I was fine for a while because the sun was out, but the minute it got cooler, once I'm cold, I'm cold. And it really it takes a hot shower really only to warm me up.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of cooler weather. I mean, I feel like the summer was too short. I mean, we didn't get good weather until
it was fast. Yeah,
it was fast, the warm weather really wasn't here very long because it really didn't get warm. Because I remember we were still running on a treadmill inside in mid-May, even into late May, before the weather outside was really tolerable enough to do running outside. And things were closed down still at that point too, so it was kind of
that's true.
less of a wise idea to go running outside. It was still kind of locked down. So I'm a little disappointed that the summer weather is gone, and Mother Nature clearly is pissed off. clearly is pissed off for a lot of reasons. I mean, obviously, you know, half of the West Coast is on fire, and the other half is in a drought. And you know, it really is. So a lot going on in this world, and so yeah. But I'm not a fan of the cold weather, cooler weather. I'm much more of a t-shirt and shorts kind of guy. So bundling up is not exactly ideal, but and on top of that, getting darker earlier is also not ideal for me either. So yeah, but it was a good getaway. It was nice to get out of the city, get some fresh air, see family and friends. It was good.
Do you feel like you had a good quality time with Dennis?
Yeah, I mean, every time we go on vacation, we travel really well together. We enjoy each other's company. We laugh. We make each other laugh. There's never a moment really where we're like I want this to be over. It's never like that. I mean, some couples might be like that. We're not like that. We actually like hanging out with each other, and Well,
I think it also helps that during the work week, you guys have, you know, your schedules don't make it so that you're always next to each other. You know, he goes into work while you work from home.
Yes.
And then sometimes he works late, and then you guys only get a few hours together each day. So I think that helps too.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. 100%. Yeah. I think it's, and in fact, on days when he is home, there are some challenges at times with, you know, the TV playing in the living room, and I'm back here trying to work. Fortunately, we have enough space. I mean, we live in a railroad style apartment. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's long and thin. So I'm in the back, and the TV is sort of towards the front. So there's enough separation. But I do feel for those couples and those people with families who are kind of all on top of each other.
Yeah.
So, you know, I actually texted my sister today. Today was the first day of school for my nephews and niece, and it went surprisingly well. She said it was smooth. So
it's in person?
No, so they're in Massachusetts, and their first month is all virtual. Okay. So, and then it goes into a hybrid thing, and there are all these terms that my sister tried to explain or would say these things, and she said that all these terms that they now have for what school is synchronous, asynchronous, I don't know, hybrid, I don't know, all these different terms.
I don't know.
So yeah, but fall is unfortunately here, even though it really doesn't start till next week officially, and I'm hoping for a nice warm comeback of weather for a while before we head into like Halloween and Thanksgiving and cold weather. Even colder weather, I should say. So yeah, it's a good vacation, good trip, and we're back, and I think that's that's definitely our last vacation for the year.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah,
it's over.
Yeah, it's over. Yep. You're in your famous words, it's over.
It's over. It really
is. So that's a little bit about what or a lot about what's going on, what happened in my life the last couple of weeks. What about you? Tell us about your personal life, and how are the dating apps going, and what's going on there?
I mean, there's no movement. It's like there's no one. Yeah, I mean, like I've still been on the apps, but I only seem to match with scammers for some reason. So I'm like, nope, this is not real. So there's a lot of that. And then I match with some people, and then they don't speak English. And I'm like, no, thank you. So it's like, it's that hasn't gone anywhere, which is, I'm like, it's fine. Yeah, no, there's been no development whatsoever. I think there was one guy I was like talking to for a little bit, but that ended quickly. So,
and do you
Yeah.
want to disclose like any reasons why that ended quickly? Just not, he's not.
I think it was just a situation where it fizzled out. Like it
Okay.
just stopped talking.
Oh,
So,
okay. All right.
but whatever, it's fine. So yeah, so there's nothing there.
How are the terrariums and the fish doing?
Oh yeah, no, that's keeping me busy. You know, I think it's good. So yeah, like, you know, being single gives me more time for hobbies, and I have hobbies, which is always helpful. And I have a podcast, so that's also helpful. So it's actually kind of nice to like have these like side things because I have the time for it now. If I'm ever in a relationship, who knows? It, you know, I think it would be much more difficult to actually do anything. But right now I have the luxury of time because I don't have a partner or children. So there it is. Last weekend I did see my parents. It was a whole thing. I got tested negative. I didn't see anyone for 5 days, and then I went to see them. And it was fine. There was a lot of screaming. There's usually a little bit of screaming when I see my parents. And this time there was like extra screaming because my dad, he turned 96 on September 6th. First time ever and last time that's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, he is old and my mom is basically his caretaker. And she's getting up there herself too. She's going to be 76 this year.
Okay.
So a lot of our discussions were about, you know, how to deal with care, you know, how can their lives be easier.
Mm-hmm.
And there were just things that were just really frustrating. Like, you know, when I was talking to them, and it doesn't help when old people are stubborn. You know, when they're stubborn and stuck in their ways and they refuse to modify behavior to adapt to new situations and challenges, I'm like, bitches, please, like, you know, like just small changes in behavior can help you. You know, like, for example, my mom cooks every single meal because my dad is a picky eater, and she's tried to do a little bit of takeout here and there, and he doesn't like it. And I'm like, yo, just make him eat whatever is presented to him. You know, like if he's not going to eat, be like, too bad, you know, this is what you have, you know, like, and it's just like my mom doesn't take care of herself and give herself a break. I'm like, no, you can't just keep on taking care of him. You need to take care of yourself, because if you want to take care of him long term, you need to make sure that you're okay. And she's just like, it's fine, you know, I'll just like, you know, do it until I can't anymore. I'm like, you don't want to get to that point, you know, anytime soon. So you need to make sure that you are giving yourself time off, you know, like you're making sure that you have time to rest. And maybe that means not cooking 3 meals a day. Maybe that means cooking 2 meals a day. And 1 meal, you're just doing whatever, you know, doing something easy. And she's like, no. I'm like, all right. I was like, whatever. I washed my hands of this. I was like, I can't do this. I did like buy them a few things to like make their lives easier. I bought them like an intercom so that my dad can easily, like, if she's like in a different part of the house, like they can easily like communicate.
That's great.
Like things like small things like that to like, you know, to make marginal improvements in their lives.
Did you buy the fridge that we talked about?
Yes. So my dad, he, just to give context, my dad, he, so we have a 3-story house back home. My dad has been staying mostly on just the first floor because it's just like the area where he's most comfortable, and the kitchen, the fridge is on the 2nd floor, and my mom has to go up and down every day just looking, you know, carrying food back and forth. I'm like, how about you just get like a fridge on the 1st floor so you don't have to, like, if you want to bring in some like soy milk or whatever, you don't have to like go up to the 2nd floor just to get some soy milk, like, you know, one less trip. And she's like, no, we don't need it. I'm like, you don't need it, but it will make your life easier. And yeah, I talked to you about this. I was so frustrated. And then your advice was just like, just do it. Just like get it.
Just buy
and
a
I
fridge.
was like, all right, I'm just going to do it. So I got it. And then my mom was like, this is amazing. And I'm like, bitch, like,
There you
what
go.
the fuck? You
Yeah.
know? So it's just like, and it's not like a matter of expense. Like a mini fridge is like $80. It's not like ridiculously expensive, you know? It's just, it goes back to what I'm saying. Like old people are just so stuck in their ways sometimes. And just like they're not used to like making small changes, even if it makes their lives easier. And it's so frustrating. So I'm just like, you know, yelling at them, cursing at them in Chinese. You know, it's just so frustrating. So anyway, so that was my weekend last weekend. And yeah, they were like, thanks for improving our lives so much. I'm like, whatever, get out. So yeah.
Well,
So
you're a good son. One, you went and spent the weekend with them, and
I am a good son. That is correct. That is a true statement.
Yes, you are, and you do buy them things, which I think is really nice. And those things sound like they are going to make their lives easier. Like,
yeah, I'm just like, oh my god. So
right. Good,
anyway.
That's great. And so this weekend we have a little get together with a few of us.
Yeah, we do. What, do you want me to get into that?
I don't know.
I mean, you guys are coming over. We're gonna hang out. End of story. What else is there to say? I'm gonna probably.
You're cooking.
Yes, I'm cooking. I'm thinking about making like a brisket. So we'll see. I've never made beef brisket before, so if it's terrible, I'm sure it'll be fine. It'll be edible, but if it's terrible, I'm sorry.
It will be fine. Yes.
So yeah, no, I mean that's I think that's mostly it. I'm trying to think if there's much else. I mean, I'm just, you know, I'm taking care of my fish and dealing with this podcast and watching a lot of TV. That's basically the gist of my life at the moment. And work. Oh, right. I forgot. There's that too.
Yes, there is work. We both, we both are hard workers and very busy. And
yeah, I was gonna say though, like, so you know, I haven't really talked about work much, but I do work in the advertising industry, and the specialty that I'm in is entertainment. So I'm an entertainment junkie personally and by trade. And I mean, like, I am curious as to how movies are going to be doing for later this year. Everything's basically moving to 2021. Tenet came out. I actually really do want to see Tenet because I'm a big Chris Nolan fan. Not to get into off topic, but I'm actually a big Chris Nolan fan. But that did okay. And now everyone's like, all the studios are like, oh, how's it going to look? So now everyone's kind of like, Disney's putting everything, it's going to put everything on Disney Plus, basically. And everyone else is moving all their stuff to, like, you know, Q1 of 2021. So I am a little bit concerned about the movie industry and where it's going, but, you know, we'll see. We'll see how that looks.
Yeah, Wonder Woman got pushed off indefinitely. And
Wonder Woman is now Christmas.
Oh, really? Did they not?
Christmas.
Okay, they did announce Christmas. And then, what is it? The Black Widow movie? Is that going to go to Disney Plus after Mulan comes off?
Black Widow, I think it's still where it's at. Soul is getting, the Pixar movie, Soul is getting moved to, probably going to get moved to Disney Plus.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the premiere, so again, you're paying extra for these.
Oh yeah,
movies.
No, I'm sure it's gonna be like, if you want premiere, quote unquote premiere access, it's like $30 or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the entertainment industry does in the next like 6 to 8 months. But I'm just keeping an eye on things. So
yeah, sure. I mean, and that's your industry, so it affects your work.
It does, and it also affects my consumption of media, because I'm like, you know, when are these movies gonna come out? When's the next Star Trek series season gonna come out after Discovery? Who the fuck knows?
Right. Yeah. We have no idea. I think we're gonna find that aside from movies that were never released in 2020, there isn't very much being produced. I mean, there are some things that are back, but we're going to have a dry spell, I think, a long dry spell in 2021.
They just need to do more Star Trek animated series. Like Section 31 can be animated.
There we go.
Yeah, that's the solution. Because Mike Mann was saying, I think he was saying Post was like, they were halfway through Post on season 1, and then the pandemic hit, and they finished all the Post remotely, which is totally doable because, you know, there are so many ways to like share projects now.
Right.
Like you can have a closet and a good microphone, and you can probably record pretty good quality audio.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think oh man, I totally lost what I was gonna say.
I don't know. Well, I don't know what you're gonna say. Was it
I think
Star Trek related?
Yeah, it was actually. Animated obviously is easier to collaborate on. I mean, this is part of the reason why Discovery was supposed to be probably back in April or March even, probably April or early May originally. So delayed by 4 to 5 months because of this. So, you know, the post-production on my point being post-production on a live action show is much different than post-production on an animated series. Well, I mean, maybe, and speaking of animated, maybe we'll see after Discovery, not too long after Discovery, maybe Star Trek Prodigy will pop up.
Am I excited for that one? I need like a trailer. Like,
yeah, I mean,
you know, the premise, I'm kind of like, it's fine. So I need a trailer to like amp me up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's definitively a kids.
Yeah, it's Nickelodeon. I'm not holding my breath for how much I'm gonna be tuning in on a weekly basis. I am gonna watch it, but
yeah,
like,
sure.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
It's not quite the same for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there we go. I mean, we talked to Deanna about a lot of things today.
I mean, we talked a lot about a lot of things in general.
We did. This is going to be a long episode, and we appreciate
it's going to be a lot for you to edit.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We didn't have too many edits in here, but you know, it's more about adding in the sound effects, and we're gonna go with our explicit rating and just leave in all of the
F-bombs,
colorful language that you bring to this podcast
here and there.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah. So hopefully everyone enjoyed this episode of Deep Space Pride. If you want to reach us to ask a question, complain, you know, provide feedback, we're here to listen, more or less. You can reach us through email at deepspacepride@gmail.com. You can also reach us on Twitter and Instagram at Deep Space Pride. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, so, and we hope that you'll subscribe. And
yes, please subscribe.
And we're now on Google Play, Google Podcasts, and and you can now listen to us on Amazon Music as well.
Yeah, I think we're pretty much on every platform. So
yeah, I think iHeartRadio is one that we're not quite there yet. But all
right,
you know,
whatever.
But you can, whatever platform, if you're not an Apple Podcast person, which if you are, we'd love.
Or if you're an iHeartRadio person, there are alternatives for you.
There are, true. But as I was going to say, if you are an Apple Podcast, we would love it if you would subscribe, rate, and review our show. That would help us reach more of our intended audience. But also you can go to deepspacepride.com and find.
Oh yeah, that's right. We have a landing page.
We have a landing page where you can reach, subscribe to any number of different podcast platforms that you may listen to us on. So
I think people can even leave us voicemails, right, or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have no idea how to access that. Well, so you can leave us a voicemail. I think it's actually on the Trek Geeks page that we have, but you can leave one, but Mike and I won't know how to access it. So.
We'll probably get it from Bill or Dan if someone would like to leave us their audio.
We'll hear it in 3 months.
But so we hope you've enjoyed this episode, and we'll look forward to talking to you next time. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Farewell.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Deep Space Pride is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network at trekgeeks.com or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.
Coconut.